It was supposed to be a night we remember forever. And I guess we will, just not for the reasons I imagined. Our 10th wedding anniversary. I made reservations a month in advance at Ocean View, the most expensive restaurant in town. I had my best suit on, a fresh haircut, and a little black box burning a hole in my pocket, diamond earrings. Custom. Elegant. I thought I was doing everything right. She was already 30 minutes late when I started to worry. An hour in, I started getting looks from the waiters. An hour and a half, and the manager offered to hold my table until she arrived. 2 hours, and I had gone through 3 overpriced cocktails trying to keep my face from falling apart. 2.5 hours, and my stomach had turned to stone. And then, just as the clock hit the 3-hour mark, the door opened and in walked Kayla, my wife, wearing a skin-tight red dress I'd never seen before. Lipstick like blood. Hair up like she was heading to the club, not an anniversary dinner. And she wasn't alone. She strutted in with 3 of her girlfriends, Megan, Carly, and Jasmine, all dressed like they were ready to film a music video. They weren't laughing at first, not until Kayla glanced over at me, sitting there, still at the table like some dumb loyal mutt, and barked out, "See? Told you he'd still be here like a pathetic puppy." And they all laughed. Laughed like it was the funniest thing they'd seen all month. The waiter glanced at me with pity. I didn't move a muscle. I just smiled, swallowed the acid rising in my throat, and waved him over. "Another drink," I said. "Make it strong." Kayla didn't even sit down. She walked over, still giggling, and kissed me on the forehead like I was a toddler. "You're such a good little pet, Nate." That was my name. Nate Carter. 39 years old, loyal, hardworking, and completely blindsided. I didn't say a word. Not yet. She sauntered back to her girls, told them she needed to freshen up, and disappeared toward the restrooms. They stayed at the bar, sipping martinis and occasionally glancing my way, whispering behind their glasses. I pulled out my phone, staring at the blank lock screen like it would tell me something. I felt hollow. I didn't want to make a scene. Not here. Not yet. But I wasn't stupid. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to a motel on the edge of town, checked in with cash, and stared at the ceiling for hours. Kayla didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask where I was. But this morning, 85 missed calls. 85. Most came between 3 and 5 a.m. And the last one had a voicemail. Her voice was frantic. "Nate, pick up. Please. This isn't what you think. I need to talk to you. It was just a joke. I swear, just a joke with the girls. You're blowing this way out of proportion." "Yeah, a joke. Like our whole damn marriage, apparently." I opened my email next. One new message from an unknown sender. Subject line: "You deserve to know." No text, just an attached video. I shouldn't have opened it. But I did. And I'll never unsee it. Kayla. Bent over the hood of someone's black Dodge Charger. Same red dress. Hair wild. Her heels still on. His hand wrapped around her throat like he owned her. His face? Familiar. My gym buddy. Jake. This wasn't some one-night thing. The way she looked at him, the way she moaned his name like it was her personal anthem, this had been going on. For a while. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stared, ice running through my chest, thinking of all the nights she came home, exhausted from girls' nights. All the times I made her tea, massaged her feet, told her I'd love her till my last breath. And she was out there doing that. I stood in the motel bathroom, gripping the edges of the sink like it was the only thing holding me to this world. My face looked pale, older, cracked with confusion and shame. And the worst part? I wasn't even surprised. Not really. I think deep down, I knew. That night at Ocean View? That was just the moment the illusion shattered. The performance ended. The mask fell. My wife, the woman I swore to protect and cherish, had become a cold, laughing stranger. And this was just the beginning. I didn't go back home. I couldn't. Not after that video. Not after the sound of her voice moaning someone else's name played on repeat in my head like a twisted lullaby. I sat on the edge of that motel bed, numb, feeling like I was floating just outside my own skin. 85 missed calls. One voicemail full of lies. One video that tore through the last thread holding my sanity together. At noon, I finally turned my phone back on. More messages. More missed calls. Her latest text read, "Can we please talk? I'm outside your work. I just want to explain. It's not what it looked like. Not what it looked like." I texted back one word. Liar. Then I blocked her. I didn't go to work. I didn't eat. Just sat there in that crappy room while the motel's ancient heater buzzed and sputtered like it might explode. I didn't sleep much either. Just closed my eyes and tried to make sense of everything. But it was the next day that sealed it. I went home. Not because I forgave her. I didn't. But I had to see it. See her face. See if she'd try to spin this into something else. I walked into the house like a stranger. Her car was in the driveway. Music was playing inside. Pop garbage. The kind she always played when she was getting ready for something. She was in the bedroom, standing in front of the mirror, curling her hair. Not crying. Not looking broken. Not even dressed in anything casual or remorseful. She was wearing that tight little leather skirt I once told her I hated because it made her look like she was trying too hard. And the top? A low-cut lace thing I'd never seen before. I knew what it was. A pregame outfit. She saw me in the mirror and froze. I waited. She turned around slowly, giving me a look like I had just tracked mud through her precious kitchen. "Nate," she said, voice flat, "you weren't supposed to be home." "Clearly," I replied, shutting the door behind me. She crossed her arms. "No apology. No shame. Just attitude." "I'm going out," she said. "I don't think this is the right time to talk." I stared at her like I didn't even recognize the woman in front of me. "Out? After what happened?" She rolled her eyes. "Oh, for God's sake. Are we still doing this? It was one stupid mistake. You ghosted me. What was I supposed to think?" "You laughed at me," I said, my voice lower than I expected. "In front of your friends. On our anniversary. You made me wait 3 hours. Then that video." "Oh, here we go," she snapped, walking past me. "You and your little heartbreak drama. You're not a victim, Nate. You're just boring. You've been boring for years. You want to play the good husband, the loyal guy, but you have no idea what it's like to be wanted. Desired. I wanted more." I stepped back. Her words hit harder than the video. "And Jake?" I asked. She smirked. "At least he doesn't cry after giving me earrings." I could have hit a wall. Smashed a mirror. Screamed. Instead, I nodded. "Thanks," I said. "That's all I needed." She paused, tilting her head like she was confused. "I'm done," I said. "Don't call me. Don't come near me. You made your choice." Kayla let out a sarcastic little laugh. "Oh, please. You'll be back. You don't have the balls to leave. You love me too much. You'll crawl back, just like always." I turned and walked out. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the pull to look back. Not even once. But I heard her. As I walked down the stairs, she yelled, "You'll die alone, Nate." Maybe. But at least I wouldn't die her fool. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't stop hurting just because you walk away. I drove aimlessly that night, letting the city blur around me, passing neon signs and silent homes where people were probably curled up with the ones they loved, completely unaware that their entire world could be ripped apart in a single night. I ended up at an old gas station on the edge of town, one I hadn't been to since college. Sat in the parking lot, engine running, staring at the windshield like it held answers. It didn't. I checked my phone again. I don't know why. Muscle memory, maybe. She was blocked, but I guess even hope can act like a parasite. I half expected some miracle to have slipped through the cracks, a genuine apology, a breakdown, maybe even a confession that meant something. But there was nothing. Just a screen full of silence. The next morning, I packed. It wasn't dramatic. No slamming of drawers or throwing clothes into suitcases. Just quiet, steady movements. A rhythm that kept me from thinking too much. I left the diamond earrings on the kitchen counter. Still in their box, unopened. I hoped she'd see them and feel something guilt, maybe. But knowing her now, I doubted it. I wasn't gone an hour before the text started coming through other numbers. "We need to talk. Don't throw everything away over one mistake. You're being childish, Nate. Jake doesn't even mean anything. I was just bored. You should have noticed." And finally, the real one, the dagger she knew would cut deepest. "If you leave, you'll regret it. I'll make sure of that." Threats now. It had escalated quickly. She realized I wasn't bluffing. That this wasn't just a fight or a dramatic scene she could patch over with a few tears and a sloppy make-out session like she used to. But it was already too late. A week passed. I moved into a small apartment above a barber shop. It smelled like aftershave and old wood, but it was quiet. Peaceful. I didn't tell anyone at work what had happened. They probably assumed something was wrong. I looked like hell and kept to myself, but no one asked. I was grateful, but that peace didn't last long. One night, around 2 a.m., someone buzzed my door. I checked the peephole. Her. Standing there in a trench coat and heels, smudged makeup, mascara streaked down her cheeks like she'd actually tried to cry. I didn't open the door. She pounded harder. Nate, let me in. I didn't move. I know you're in there. Stop being a coward. Still didn't move. That's when she screamed, loud enough to wake the building. You think you're so righteous? You're not better than me. You're just a loser who got lucky I ever married you. Neighbors started flipping lights on. I opened the door a crack and stepped outside, pulling it shut behind me. You need to leave, Kayla. She stepped forward, breath heavy, eyes wild. You're really doing this? You're throwing 10 years away because I slipped? Are you that weak? You didn't slip, I said, calmly. You jumped. And you kept jumping. You only regret it because now you're alone. She slapped me. Didn't even hesitate. Right across the face. I laughed. I didn't mean to, but it came out. Sharp. Ugly. She stepped back, shocked. That's all you've got? I asked. After everything? A slap and a tantrum. She opened her mouth to speak, but I turned and walked back inside, locking the door behind me. Her voice echoed down the hallway for a few more minutes before she finally gave up and left. I didn't sleep that night, but I didn't hurt either. The numbness had finally become something stronger, resolve. She wasn't the woman I married. Maybe she never was. Maybe I just wanted her to be. A few days later, I got served. Divorce papers. Filed by her. Not me. After everything she did, after all the humiliation, she wanted to be the one in control, to write the ending. She cited emotional abandonment as the reason. That part almost made me laugh out loud. Emotional abandonment. From the man she mocked in public and betrayed behind his back. But I signed the papers. Without a lawyer. Without contest. I didn't want a penny. Didn't want the house. Didn't want the car. I just wanted out. Clean break. Let her have everything. It would all rot anyway. Still, the hits kept coming. 2 days after I signed, I got a message from an old friend, Scott, a guy from high school who had stayed in town and ran a local gym. Hey man, you probably don't want to hear this, but figured you should know. Saw Kayla with Jake today. They were shopping for rings. Rings. 2 weeks after our anniversary dinner from hell, she was ring shopping with the guy she let use her like a weekend toy. No shame. No waiting period. No breathing room. She was erasing me. Replacing me. Like I was some old furniture she finally dragged to the curb. Part of me wanted to rage. To drive down there, crash the party, rip the diamond out of her hand and throw it in the gutter. But I didn't. I sat in my empty apartment with a black coffee and a cigarette I didn't even smoke, just holding it, thinking about how fast love can mutate into poison. Then came the real gut punch. My mom called. She had run into Kayla at the grocery store. She told me she misses you, my mom said gently. Said you overreacted. I had to pull the phone away from my ear just to keep from screaming. Overreacted? I played the part of the loyal husband while she was out performing bedroom theater in back alleys with gym brothers and treating me like a joke in front of her friends. My mom didn't mean harm. She loved Kayla. Thought we were soulmates. For 10 years, Kayla played that role to perfection when others were watching. Sweet. Supportive. Charming. The kind of woman mothers dream their sons marry. But behind closed doors? The mask slipped a long time ago. I just refused to see it. She stopped touching me about 2 years in. Said she was tired. Busy. Not in the mood. Said she was working on herself. So I waited. I made her breakfast. Left love notes. Took her on surprise trips. She rewarded me by keeping her affection locked away and giving her body to strangers who made her feel alive. Alive. That word stayed with me for days. Like I was the one who made her dead. Like her emptiness was my fault. A week passed. I didn't respond to anyone. Not Scott. Not my mother. Definitely not her. But then I saw her again. Randomly. At a diner. She was sitting in a booth by the window, sipping a smoothie and laughing with a man I didn't recognize. Not Jake. Someone new. Third in line. Maybe fourth. Her hand was on his arm, fingers tracing the vein like she used to do to me when we were dating. I didn't approach. Just stood by the register, waiting for my coffee, watching her from the side. She saw me. I know she did. Because the smile on her face widened, like seeing me struggle in silence was just part of her dessert. She leaned in, whispered something to the new guy, and laughed. Like I never existed. I walked out without my coffee. And I didn't look back. 2 months passed. The divorce finalized. No court drama. No drawn-out battles. Just a cold envelope in my mailbox confirming that the state of California no longer recognized us as husband and wife. It should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like an obituary for a man who never existed. I tried to build routines, hit the gym more, cooked for myself, started reading again. Things I hadn't done in years because I was always wrapped around her needs, her moods, her chaos. But it was like learning to walk after being in a coma. I kept stumbling. The nights were the worst. That quiet hour between midnight and dawn when the rest of the world sleeps and your mind digs into old wounds like it wants them to bleed again. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, replaying moments, the way she used to curl up on my chest after movies, the way she smiled in our wedding photos, the way she held my hand like it meant something. I kept asking myself the same brutal question. Was any of it ever real? Or had I been living in a fantasy scripted by a woman who knew exactly how to act like she loved me? One night, I cracked. I opened the photo app on my phone, scrolled all the way back to our first vacation. Cancun, 2015. There she was, Kayla in sunglasses, laughing on the beach, holding my hand, her smile stretching wider than the ocean behind us. My stomach twisted. I remembered how I'd proposed the next week. She said yes before I even finished the sentence. That smile. It looked genuine. But now? Now I couldn't tell. Maybe she had just been playing the part from the beginning, rehearsing the role of perfect wife, until she got bored with the script. I deleted every photo of her that night. All of them. Even the good ones. Especially the good ones. It didn't change anything, but it felt like taking a brick off my chest. Then came the bomb I didn't see coming. One of her old friends, Carly, the same one who laughed at the restaurant, messaged me out of nowhere. Said she wanted to clear her conscience. I almost deleted it without reading, but something in me needed closure. Her message was short. You didn't deserve what she did. None of it was an accident. She's been cheating on you since year 3. Jake was just the one who got caught. There were others. Guys from work. From the gym. Even that trip to New York she said was a girls' weekend, she met a guy there too. We all knew. We just didn't say anything because, well, we thought you knew. Or maybe you just didn't care. I sat in silence for a long time. I had been married to a fiction. A performance. A circus where I was the clown, spinning plates while she danced behind my back with whoever gave her a thrill that week. The rage didn't come. Not anymore. Just a strange calm. Like standing in the middle of a tornado and realizing the damage had already been done. Nothing left to break. I wrote back one sentence. Thanks for finally saying something. Hope your conscience sleeps better now. I left it at that. What else was there to say? I knew now that what I had with Kayla wasn't love. It was dependency. She needed attention, control, worship, and I gave it to her, thinking it was love, thinking I was enough. But to her, I was never more than a mirror, something to reflect her image back at her when she needed to feel adored. And when that stopped being fun, she found new mirrors. Shinier ones. Cheaper ones. Ones that didn't ask for honesty. I started therapy. Not because I wanted to talk about my feelings, hell no. At first, I just wanted to hear someone say I wasn't crazy. That everything I'd gone through wasn't some overreaction. That I wasn't weak for still waking up with her name in my mouth like a curse I couldn't spit out. My therapist, a guy named Dr. Ramsey, didn't give me sympathy, which I appreciated. No warm blankets or pity looks. He just listened, nodded, and asked the kind of questions that made me sit in silence for too long. Do you miss her? Or do you miss who you thought she was? That one stuck with me. Because honestly, I didn't miss her. I missed the woman I thought she was. The woman I built in my head. The one who used to send me those stupid little memes during the day, or rub my back after long shifts, or laugh like I was the only man on earth. But that woman was a ghost. A shadow she put on like makeup when it suited her. What I actually had, the lies, the manipulation, the disrespect, I didn't miss a damn bit of it. Still, the anger was there. Even beneath the calm. Especially when I saw how people reacted. Friends said, man, I always thought something was off about her. But they said nothing while it happened. My uncle told me, at least you don't have kids together. That would have been worse. As if the absence of children made betrayal less brutal. Even my boss, trying to be funny, said, well, now you can go get yourself a younger model. Everyone had jokes, but none of them had answers. You know what hit the hardest? The silence. After the noise of the breakup, the shouting, the threats, the crying voicemails, the late-night banging on my door, the silence was deafening. No texts. No updates. Just a strange void where chaos used to live. But silence has a way of making you hear things you've been ignoring for years. Like how alone I really felt the last half of that marriage. Like how many times I excused her nastiness, her mood swings, her blatant lies because I didn't want to fight. Like how I let her rewrite reality in front of me, call me paranoid, when I found unfamiliar cologne on her jacket, insecure, when she started locking her phone, controlling when I asked why she never came home before midnight. The truth is, I wasn't a perfect husband, but I was present. I showed up. I stayed loyal. I tried, really ing hard, to hold together something that had been breaking piece by piece while she was out throwing gasoline on every spark she could find. And now? Now she was probably out there telling people I was too sensitive, clingy, or emotionally unstable. Because that's what people like her do. They rewrite history to stay the hero in their own version. Let her. Let her tell whatever story she needs to in order to sleep at night. I don't need to fix the narrative anymore. I just need peace. Real peace. Not the fake kind I had while lying next to someone who flinched when I touched her. I started running again. I stopped drinking. I picked up old hobbies, building stuff, sketching, hell, even playing guitar again. Not because I was trying to heal like some Instagram self-help page, but because I needed to remember who I was before she infected every corner of my identity. And slowly, I started feeling like me again. Not the version of me she twisted. Not the broken shell who waited 3 hours in a restaurant thinking she was just running late. But the real me. The one who deserved better. The one who's finally starting to believe it. I saw her one last time. It wasn't planned. I was at the farmer's market on a Sunday morning, picking up coffee and fresh bread, making small talk with the vendors like I actually gave a damn about basil. And then, I heard that laugh. Her laugh. The one that used to be infectious before I realized how fake it was. She was there, strolling through the crowd in a short floral dress, arm locked with some guy I didn't recognize. Not Jake. Not the guy from the diner. Another one. This one looked younger, barely out of college. She was performing again, hair tossed perfectly, makeup like a photo shoot, acting like life was one long Instagram reel. She saw me. Of course she did. And she didn't flinch. Didn't look away. She leaned in, whispered something in the guy's ear, and they both looked over at me like I was a homeless man begging at the gates of their happiness. He laughed. She smirked. I think she thought she'd won something. But all I could think was, how exhausting it must be to keep acting that hard all the time. I didn't stop. Didn't wave. Didn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. I walked past like she was a stranger. Because at this point, that's exactly what she was, a stranger who wore my last name for a decade and now wore a smirk like it was armor. Back home, I didn't feel angry, or hurt, or anything. Just relief. That's when I realized I was finally done bleeding over someone who wouldn't have even handed me a bandage. I sat on my small balcony, coffee in hand, watching the sunset behind the trees, and for the first time in a long, long time, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like freedom. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't kill you. It just rips you open wide enough so the truth can finally get in. And the truth was simple. I loved a woman who didn't love me. I gave everything to someone who saw it as weakness. I waited in a restaurant like a fool while she laughed with her friends and bragged about how easily she could break me. And maybe that says something about me, about how I was raised, about what I thought love was supposed to feel like. But I'm not ashamed. I'd rather be the guy who waited, who believed, who hoped, who stayed loyal, than the one who uses people like tools and then discards them when they get dull. She didn't destroy me. She revealed me. Showed me the cracks, the places I needed to rebuild stronger. I don't hate her anymore. You can't hate someone you've outgrown. If she wants to spend the rest of her life chasing thrills in clubs, taking selfies with half-boyfriends, and laughing at the trail of broken people behind her, that's her path. But me? I'm walking forward now, not looking back. And if anyone reading this finds themselves sitting alone in a restaurant, waiting for someone who doesn't respect them, get up. Don't wait for the slap. Don't wait for the video. Don't wait for the silence. Get up. Pay your bill. Walk away. And don't stop walking until you remember who the hell you are. It took me a while to fully understand what healing actually looks like. It's not dramatic. It's not some big, cinematic breakthrough moment where the sky opens up and you suddenly feel whole again. It's slow, quiet, almost invisible. It's you sitting at a coffee shop and realizing you haven't thought about her all day. It's waking up one morning and not checking your phone for her name. It's passing by places that used to be haunted and feeling nothing. I started noticing those little moments. Like when I cleaned out the last of her stuff, the scarf she left in the closet, the perfume bottle on the bathroom shelf, that dumb framed quote she hung in the hallway about choosing love every day. I threw it in the trash. No anger. No theatrics. Just done. I sold the car we used to drive on road trips. I deleted our playlist. I tossed the blanket we used to curl under on Sunday nights. Bit by bit, I peeled her out of my world like a dead layer of skin. One night, I went out with friends, real friends. The ones who didn't pretend like nothing happened, who actually listened, who called me when I went quiet for too long. We drank, joked, even flirted a little with some women at the bar. Nothing serious. Nothing forced. Just life again. And somewhere between the laughter and the sound of glasses clinking, I realized I was smiling, not the fake kind I wore during the worst parts of my marriage, but a real one. The kind that reaches your eyes. I won't pretend I'm fully over it. Sometimes I still have dreams where she's sitting across from me, saying all the things I used to beg to hear. I wake up shaken, heart racing, the echo of her voice still in the room. But now, I don't chase the dream. I don't spend the whole day in that fog, wondering what if. I let it fade. And I move on. Because the truth is, she didn't break me. She woke me up. I learned more about myself in the fallout of her betrayal than I ever did during our marriage. I learned that being loyal doesn't mean being blind. That love without respect is just manipulation in a prettier dress. That no matter how much you give, some people will always crave what destroys them. And most of all, I learned this. You don't need closure from the person who hurt you. Sometimes, the closure is just accepting they're not capable of giving it. Sometimes, it's closing the door yourself. So here I am, a different man, still healing, but no longer bleeding, stronger, but not hardened, wiser, but not bitter. I don't know what's next. Maybe I'll fall in love again someday. Maybe I won't. I'm okay either way. Because now, I finally love the one person I neglected for years, myself. And if you're reading this, hoping to find a reason to stay in something that's killing you slowly, let this be it. You don't owe loyalty to someone who feeds on your silence. You don't owe patience to someone who spits on your kindness. And you don't owe your life to someone who treats it like a game. Walk away. Before the laughter at your expense becomes a soundtrack you can't turn off. Because you deserve more. You always did. Weeks turned into months. And with each one, the grip she had on my mind loosened. There was no single moment of triumph, no movie scene ending where I stood in the rain and screamed out her name. Just gradual, quiet detachment. And the more distance I put between who I was with her and who I was becoming, the clearer I saw the lies I used to accept as normal. I started writing again. At first, it was just scattered thoughts, stuff I'd scribble in a notebook during late nights when sleep wouldn't come. But then it turned into pages, and those pages started to make sense. It wasn't about her. Not directly. It was about me. My life. My voice. For so long, I had been the background character in my own story, orbiting her needs, her moods, her demands. But now? Now I was the damn author. I ran into Jake once, randomly at a gas station. I didn't even recognize him at first. He looked older somehow. Tired. He saw me, froze, then nodded like he wanted to say something but didn't have the guts. I just stared. Not with rage. Not with hate. Just silence. And that silence said everything. He looked down, muttered, "Sorry, man," like it would rewind the clock or erase the filth he helped drag into my life. I didn't respond. I just turned around and left. Because nothing he could say would make any of it better. He wasn't just a guy who slept with my wife, he was someone I trusted. Let into my home. Shared drinks with. Talked about my marriage with. He listened to my problems and at her anyway. That's not the kind of betrayal words can fix. After that, I finally changed my number. It felt symbolic. Like cutting the last wire she could use to try and pull me back. No more games. No more fake apologies. No more midnight. I miss you texts sent out of boredom or guilt. She had plenty of chances. She cashed every one of them in for cheap thrills in strangers' hands. Now, I was bankrupt of forgiveness. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever take her back, if she changed, if she realized what she lost, if she begged. No, because she didn't lose me. She threw me away. Like garbage. She didn't make a mistake, she made a pattern. And people don't change patterns unless they hit rock bottom. But Kayla?